Hello. So, for my story, drama, and side exploration, I have chosen to do Little Red Riding Hood. It is a super well known story and it has a lot of elements within it that can really help us dive into the characters in the story with the children and really make it a very fun and thorough exploration. Little Red is a character that I have loved for a very long time. She is super independent and strong, and we really want to instill those qualities in our youngest of performers. The story of Little Red Riding Hood originated back in 1697, but its most famous adaptation was written by Brothers Grimm. Since then, it has been transformed and retold so many times. It has had the opportunity to be flushed out, seen through the lens of the different characters, and Little Red herself has also had her own spin offs. For most recently, the story of Little Red Riding Hood has been told through music in the original Broadway musical Into the Woods, written by Stephen Sondheim. It was later back on Broadway in 2022 with a new cast revival. Into the Woods also has a screen adaptation that was done through Walt Disney Studios in 2010. Little Red Riding Hood was also turned into an animation film, Hoodwinked, that premiered in 2005. So, Little Red's story has been around for quite some time, and I think between all of the different versions that are out there, most children have seen at least one. And when they hear of the story of Little Red Riding Hood, they already know exactly what is going to happen, which I think is an exciting thing to do when you're doing something like this because they already know it, but you're able to really dive in deep and ask those questions that they might not think of when they're watching it on screen or they're just reading the classic tale. So, Little Red, she has been around for quite some time, and it's really cool to see how we can transform this into our learning. Although the story of Little Red Riding Hood has changed many times, the themes have always stayed the same. Same with the social issues. The main ones that I see within this story are trust and vulnerability, self reliance and overcoming challenges, and the innocence of childhood versus reality. In terms of trust, I think that's the biggest one, and I think that's the biggest takeaway that our students would get. And I feel like anyone reading this story, I think that's the one that's kind of in plain sight for you to pick up on. We're talking about child safety and the importance of teaching children about stranger danger and understanding when it's appropriate to trust others. I think that a lot has evolved and changed over these past, 10 years alone. And I think that the dangers of the world are becoming more prominent. So, really teaching our children about safety, but through a story where it makes it fun and more able to, they're able to connect with it easier, not taking away the importance of it, but we're able to do certain activities that kind of help them see, oh, this is the right decision I should make. Maybe I shouldn't trust this person. And the characters of Little Red and the wolf really help with that. Self-reliance and overcoming challenges, it's really nice, when we're working through these stories to see the personal empowerment that comes through. And, we're teaching children to trust their instincts and how to handle challenges on our own versus relying on others. Yes, it's awesome when we are able to rely on people around us, but sometimes in situations, even friends that are in our younger ages of life, they are going to have things that come up that they are going to have to handle on their own, and they need to learn how to trust their instincts. And Little Red really teaches you how to trust your own instincts because she knows something about that wolf is off. We're not really sure about this one, but you know she trusts her gut and she says, I'm going to walk away from him. And I think it's so important for our education for our younger ones to really understand that. In a more, in depth and more deep social issue and theme is, the innocence of childhood versus reality. It's kind of like a loss of innocence and the challenges that children face when they must grow up. She's on her own in the woods, and now she has to, rely on what she knows. And, sometimes we protect our children from harsh realities until they're forced to confront them. And, you know, I think that this is a great story to kind of introduce the kids to this slowly. Um, that, when things come up, we have in the world around us, how can we navigate? How can we, figure it out so they're not just stripped of that innocence in one giant pull of the thread. So, Ruth Heinig in the improvisation with Favorite Tales talks about how younger elementary children really enjoy solo pantomime work, because they get to play that character immediately. When we're working with groups, it's always having to wait to take turns. So if we were to do a group activity with Granny, the wolf, the huntsman, or the baker, if you're going to be using it in Into the Woods context, and Little Red, when you're working in a group like that, kids are going to be waiting to dive into the certain character that they want to play. But if we just generalize them and make them all Little Red Riding Hood, then they are able to just dive in right away and they don't have to wait. So with Little Red being our protagonist, we want to really focus on her because she's the one who is going through all of this. Yes, the other characters come along and it will always be, a fun side thing to kind of dive into their point of view of things, but Little Red is the one that we want to focus on. So, with that being said, our very first side coaching is going to be packing up that basket that we're bringing to Granny's. So, I think this is a good way to kind of start nice and small. And, if our resources allow it, maybe we could have little baskets, where they can pretend like they're putting things in. And we're really using our sensory abilities, and we're just kind of using our imagination. So we need to pack up our basket for grandmother. I wonder what kind of snacks she would like. That is an open-ended question. Maybe someone's grandmother likes cupcakes, another one likes bread and fruit, maybe one of them likes cheese, maybe one of our friends thinks that Granny might like some sauerkraut, or Granny might like some green beans. And I think it's a really fun way where our kids can just, because they can put it almost in their own lives, in their own culture. Maybe Granny wants a big bowl of spaghetti and meatballs, and we have to bring it to her. So we're packing our lunchbox, we're packing our basket, and we're going to tie it up because it just smells so good. We don't want any of the flavors to escape our basket. So we are going to tie it super tight so no one can get our goodies for Granny. And we are going to walk to our door and we are going to blow our mom and dad a big kiss. Mwah, and we are going to say, we will see you later. We are going to grandmother's house. Now, as we are out the door, we are into the forest. This is where things are going to start to pick up in our story. So Little Red Riding Hood, she is power and she is a symbol for wisdom. She herself is a metaphor for the light within us, because she is so happy to bring all of these things to her granny. Nothing has happened yet. It's a sunshiny day. She is a sunshine within herself. She is so happy and she is skipping through the forest. And that's when things kind of start to go a little south. We come across our the wolf, and he himself is a metaphor for danger and cruelty that we might, experience when we go outside of the comfort of our home. And, we can't forget about the scenery that we're in, because it's not like we're not skipping through a candy cane forest or anything like that. It is an actual forest where we see woodland creatures, and the trees and the forest themselves it's a metaphor for the world around us. We're stepping into that. So that's where that connection comes for that theme that we were talking about earlier. We sometimes want to protect our children from the things that we see. And when we let them, go to school in the morning, we can't control sometimes the things that go around and happen. So how do we, instill the practice of, our students and our children knowing the right thing to do, and, how do we keep them safe, but they're learning, so they have the tools that they need within them. And it's just really important for us to teach our children to trust their instincts. Ruth Heinig, also from the Improvisation with Favorite Tales, talks about directed playing and narrative pantomime. So directed playing, this is where we're going to really side coach and tell the students exactly what they're going to do. What do you see? What do you smell? We're doing this, we're doing that. As opposed to the narrative pantomime, where we would act out specific scenes as directed in the script that we're using. So in terms of our side coaching number 2, we're going to pretend that we are skipping through a forest. Right? Remember, we have blown our mom and dad a kiss. We said goodbye. We are going to Granny's. And now we have entered our forest, or the world, as we want to say. And we're going to skip through the forest. Let's skip around the room like we are skipping through the forest. We're just so happy. Maybe you can say hello to your friends. Maybe you're leaving your village to go to the forest. Maybe you say hi to your next door neighbor. And we're skipping and skipping. And what do we see in this forest? What do we feel while we're skipping? What do we hear? Do we hear a rustling in the leaves? What's the weather? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it a perfect day? Is it daytime or nighttime? I think it's mostly daytime. But if it's daytime, what's the weather? What are we wearing? Oh, we've gotten to this one point. Let's stop and pick some flowers for Granny. She would love some flowers. Here is a great opportunity. There's another game that I use in my classroom called Starfish Pencil Tree Pose. So this is kind of a variation of that. It almost kind of feels like rock, paper, scissors when you talk about it, but it is pencil starfish tree pose, and it's using yoga poses to symbolize those things. So we're gonna play flowers, rock, tree pose. So we're going to do a pose, and what would a flower look like? How would you feel? Are they dainty like a rose? Are they a little bit more spread out and flashy like a sunflower? A rock. A rock is, are we a big rock? Are we a small rock? Are we small? Are we on the ground? Are we a pebble? What kind of rock are we? And tree pose is the classic, one foot is up in passe, one is down, and we have our hands at heart's rest, or we can put it above our head for maximum balance and more challenge, and we are now that tree pose. And as we are playing, the story continues. Oh no, we see the wolf. Let's pretend to move like the wolf. Is he big? Is he small? Does he move slow? Does he move quickly? Is he loud? Is he quiet on his feet? This is a way that we can teach and guide our children through these stories. David Booth's story drama explores stories through dramatic activities. Sometimes it's moving through music, sometimes it's building the environment ourselves, sometimes the students get to move freely through the room to a piece of selected music. Drama games are a great resource in this. So we've packed our basket at this point. We have, really set the scene. We know who we are. We know what kind of day it is. We know what we see, feel, smell. We are really invested in, where we are. And we've even pretended to be the wolf. Now we're going to step back into Little Red. And what happens next? The wolf is starting to chase us. But I know that we are faster. So this is a great opportunity to use music. You can find any type of chasing music, that kind of gets that anxiety rush going a little bit. But we want to have a couple different tempos, because this is a good game that I would honestly probably use for some of my dance students as well, to teach about tempo. And this is like another way that we can use different locomotive motions that we have. It doesn't have to just be skipping. It can be galloping. It could be chasing. It could be running. It could be tiptoeing. It could be marching. Any type of those locomotive options that we have to really play with the tempo that we're using as well. This is a good opportunity for us to move to the music and to listen to the audio and have those cues. And it kind of teaches us a lot of different things, which is super exciting. And we are going to play this game and see if the wolf can catch us. When we hear the music and we start running. Oh no, the music is slowing down. So maybe we can walk a little bit. We lost him. He doesn't see us. Oh no. Did he see us? The tempo of the music is really slow and quiet. So we are going to tiptoe across because we don't want him to see us. And go. Run. And it's a good way to really just also get our blood flowing and pumping, and we're really using our bodies, and we're listening to the music, and we're really now getting involved into this chase. That is our side coaching number 3. So, Little Red Riding Hood, it's an amazing story for children, but we can also use it for our more advanced students. As I said before, we have so many adaptations of Little Red Riding Hood, and she's had her own spin-offs. She has been brought into the light so many times. So I think, we are able to always find a way to dive into her story. Right now, currently with my acting students at my studio that I work with, on Monday evenings, they age range is between 7 and 13. So it's a pretty big age gap, but I'm specifically working with my older kids right now on a scene called You Looking at Me, and it's all about how Little Red has started her own self-defense class, and she has now turned into this totally amazing teacher, and she's teaching all of our other princesses that are super well known to kind of sit back and, Snow White and Aurora and Cinderella kind of let things happen. And Little Red is going out there. She says, no, we're not going to do that. And we even added in Little Red's perspective, quote unquote, daughter for one of our smaller friends in our company. And we also added Granny as well, because Granny is also a symbol of strength. So even if we're working with little ones, or if we're working with our, preteens, this is a great story to really teach about our resilience. We're teaching about how we are strong, how to trust our instincts, and how to navigate the world around us and not be afraid of the cruel things that we see around us. And we lead with the light that we are, because that's what Little Red is too. She's a symbol of light, and so are we. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great story to kind of dive into, and I hope you enjoyed this.